Welcome, welcome, welcome. What's up? It's your boy Eugene once again on Talk to Me with Eugene Williams Jr. Let me tell you first about how I met this gentleman. So in 2010, maybe a little earlier, when Facebook and social media was at its earliest stages, I had a blog talk radio show. And I had been an author of several books, and I was trying to get other folks who had written books to be guests on my shows. And I came across a young man who said, "Don't only let me be a guest on your show, but I have some other author friends and I want them to be a guest as well." And I said, "Hey, why not? I'm looking for guests, interesting people. The more the merrier." Not only that happened, only to find out some 15 later that this particular person who was a guest on my show all that time ago is now, in my estimation, one of the preeminent podcasters out there in terms of interviews and celebrities. Let me tell you about him. As a radio and TV personality, this man has built a brand on the power of words and expression. He's a Mississippi native, and he hosts Conversations Live, a radio show that has over 1.3 million listeners, probably more than that now. This man has been a major Amazon.com influencer since 2014. So he deserves your respect. And I'm so grateful for him being on my show today. As always, to our Don Cornelius Soul Train, welcome. We're going to stay right where we are and put our hands together and give it all up for Mr. Cyrus Webb. Hey! Cyrus.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You are an example to people who say, "I'm starting from a humble situation, or I don't really know which way I want to go with certain things. Am I able to do this?"
First, again, let me say again, thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the great work that you're doing as well. Honestly, this was not my plan. I didn't want to do any of this. So growing up, what I wanted to do was write and draw. That was if you had talked to the little Cyrus, my parents will tell you even today, Cyrus wanted to be a writer and an artist. Now I've been able to do that. But as far as the whole idea of interviewing people, and I was an introvert growing up, I'm still an introvert today. So that was no one would have said that would have been my path. But I will say this though, I am a naturally curious person. And I've always loved to hear more about other people than talk about myself. So in that respect, starting the radio show and the podcast made sense because I get to share people's stories and share, how they got to where they are and learn from them because I love learning. And so that's how it all began for me. Little did I know when I first got on the radio here in Mississippi where I live in 2003, it would grow the way it has. But it is definitely a testament to my staying curious, I think, Eugene, and realizing that everyone's story matters and everyone's story deserves to be told.
Who was that first person that said, "I'm going to jump on this platform. This man has something going on. I want to talk to him and share my story"? Do you remember your very first guest?
I do. And let me tell you the funny story about that. When the show first started, now 22 years ago here in Mississippi, it was not even supposed to have guests. So when the show first started, it was actually called Let's Talk with Cyrus Webb. That was the very first episode here in July 2003. The station's idea was I was supposed to have a talking head show where I talked about things that were happening and giving my commentary, which has never been my thing anyway. But a friend of mine, Eugene, was listening online. I didn't even know the show was online. So they were listening in Biloxi, Mississippi, and her name is Angela Sarton.
Okay.
She's now Angela Collier.
Okay.
And the producer told me we have a caller. And so I was like, I'm so glad because I didn't know what I was doing. So she's like, "Cyrus, I'm so proud of you. I'm listening to you on the radio." And I believe it was God said to me, "Cyrus, ask her about herself." And I said, because Angela was an artist, Eugene. So I said, "Angela, thank you so much for listening. But hey, for those who don't know you and the great work you're doing, tell them about your art." And when she started talking, Eugene, that changed my whole perception of what I was supposed to be doing. because I realized then it wasn't about me talking. It was about me having a conversation. So I've kept that approach now for 22 years. I want the guest to be the star. And I want them to know they're the important person in the conversation. And we're there to hear from them. And that's really what has helped me.
What have been some of the most memorable experiences you've had, whether it be people, whether it be incidents, whether it be different eras? What have they been?
Yeah, this has been a very humbling journey for me, Eugene, because this was not my plan. It wasn't like I had the goal of being this big time radio host or podcaster or whatever. So all of it has been a surprise because it wasn't my intention, right? But I will say the first thing where I knew I had something, because I started the show here in Mississippi in 2005 on television. So I had the radio show in 2003. That has continued. Then I had the TV show in 2005. In 2006, I was contacted by Simon & Schuster Publishing Company. They had heard about my show, and they had an author coming through Jackson and wanted them to be a part of my radio show and TV show. And that guest was best-selling author Brandon Massey, one of the first Black horror writers out there that really started making a name for himself. So I had a chance to interview him on the radio. He then went to the studio. We did our TV segment, and he appeared on the cover of the first issue of my magazine in April 2006. And we're still friends to this day. So that was the first thing, to have a major publisher say, there's this guy in Mississippi that we want to, and we've had a relationship ever since. So I've been working with Simon & Schuster all to this day, as well as Random House, as well as Zibby Books. So that has been one of the things. But I think that there's a lesson there for all of us, Eugene, about it really wasn't me. It was a consistency. Because one thing about the show has not stopped in 22 years. I started off just once a week. I now do 5 days. I'm a glutton for punishment, so I do 5 days a week now. But I think people saw, my show, like you, has been around when other shows have come and gone, And so I think that consistency is where it kind of built that trust, where people don't mind telling people about it.
Well, the consistency part means so much to me, because whereas you have been around and your show has been a force over the years, week after week after week, day after day after day. When we both started together doing different shows, I kind of, died down. Life kind of got in the way. I had a child, and which forced me to kind of move away from the show. But I wanted to make that point about the consistency. A lot of people don't understand how important it is to keep going, no matter what comes your way or what obstacles you face. The consistency will hold you in good stead in the long term. Tell us about some of the great people. Just give us some names. This is just time to name drop now, Cyrus. Tell the people out there some of the fantastic people that you've interviewed over the years.
Well, okay. I want to do that. But can I say one thing, though? Because I don't know why.
You can do whatever you want, Cyrus. We go back. You do what you want to do, my friend.
Well, no. I just want to say something. The show has now become known for the celebrities. Again, that was not the plan, but it has become known for that. But I want our audience to know one other thing, especially those that are into podcasts, and I'll give you some names, is that you have to make every guest feels like a star. If they're a local business owner, because that's what I did, because that's what I was missing, Eugene. When I first came on the scene, people didn't want to give me, when my art and stuff, people didn't want, because I didn't have a name, I didn't have any official education. So people at the time, that doesn't happen now, but at the time, people weren't trying to interview me,
Right.
But I bring that up to say, we have to treat everyone like the star that they are, because all of us have something to do and everyone starts somewhere. So to give our audience an idea now of some of the names. So I literally just today, before your interview, I interviewed Ed Quinn from Tyler Perry's The Oval, who plays the president on the show.
Right.
He's also in a new movie with Kerry Washington, Shadow Force. I just interviewed him literally today. I've interviewed Stedman Graham, of course, the longtime partner of Oprah Winfrey. I've had an opportunity to interview Martha Stewart. I had an opportunity, to interview, a lot of individuals, Columbus Short from Scandal and Stump the Yard.
Yes.
I had a chance to
Yes.
interview Courtney B. Vance, the husband of Angela Bassett, who's also an acclaimed actor. So I've definitely
Okay.
had an opportunity to interview some amazing people, Eugene. But I do want to go back to what I said about I treat everybody, regardless of who it is, as if they're important. I don't do any less research on a local artist or author because I know what this opportunity can mean for them. So I want to make
Right.
sure they know, look, your time is important to me, just like I want my time to be important to you. And I want to make this something you can use. And so, yeah, but it's been a great ride. This year, we're celebrating my 13,000th guest of my career.
13,000 guests. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on this show, because I have followed you from afar. And I have watched the way you treat all of your guests, and you have a variety of guests. Some people who are well known, some people who are not so well known. I've seen that over the years. And that whole idea of treating everybody like they're very, very special, that's very, very important. And so people need to understand that. And I'm hoping that people who are budding podcasters, who are sitting here watching you and listening to you, they got some things out of this discussion so far. First of all, we talked about consistency. First of all, we talked about research, then about making your guests feel special. Then knowing that a lot of times you stumble onto these things, the consistency and the kindness and the investment you put in other people helps you stumble onto these experiences, which grow and grow and grow and snowball into bigger things. I think people need to understand that it doesn't come right away. You've been doing this since the early 2000s. And now 2025, here you are with over 1 million listeners on iHeartRadio and a lot of other venues, and talking to the names of the people that you just described to us. So people need to understand that. I hope people out there are really listening to what it takes, but you have to be hardworking. You have to be consistent. It's very, very important. So Cyrus, I want to ask you this. How have your experiences shaped the man that you have become for the past 20 years? Because I know the Cyrus I knew in 2010 has got to, in many ways, be different than the Cyrus I'm getting ready to know in 2025. And in some ways, it's the same, but I know there have been some changes. So how have your experiences shaped your life thus far?
Eugene, I really like this question. And let me tell you why. I have had to go through a lot of growth, and it's up here. I come from a working family. I saw my mom and dad get up and work every day. I saw them work hard. And that was my first real glimpse of what love looked like. We didn't go out to eat and all of that. We couldn't afford to do all of that extra stuff. But they made sure we had what we needed. And that, to me, I felt, I didn't think about the things we didn't have. I thought about what we had. The reason why I said the growth has been up here is because I realized, even as I've grown my business, I have an employee mentality. And it has taken me some time to shift that to a CEO mentality. So the biggest growth, I would say, in my life has been realizing that I am who God has created me to be.
Amen.
And I have to be open to that and not limit myself, because I'm known to do that. And I tell my friends, hey, if you see this, I'll give them things to watch for. You need to tell me, hey, Cyrus, you need to step this up. Because it's very easy for me, when you don't grow up with a lot, Eugene, it's very easy to say, well, I can pay my bills, that's enough. But I was made for more. And it's taken me time to realize that I don't need to be comfortable. It's not even about a dollar amount. It's about realizing the opportunities I can create, and the way that I can be able to use my platform like you're doing to show people what's possible. So I would say the biggest growth has been here. Because once I unlocked that in my mind, that it was okay that I do well, it's okay that I have opportunities, that then allowed me to be free to be able to do more of what God wanted me to do and to expand my territory.
So basically what I'm hearing from you is, the more opportunities you create, the more opportunities you create. And that's just very important for folks to realize. It's that constant push forward. And when you said, you said something that really struck me right there. To you, having parents that were working-class parents out and worked every day, that was to you love in action. Work was what love looked like. And so many people take that for granted. That in and of itself is something that you should be proud of, something that shows love. That is a love language in and of itself. So, my next question to you is this: all these great things that have happened to you and are continuing to happen to and for you, what have been the drawbacks in terms of that? What have been the drawbacks?
Okay, this is a difficult one, Eugene. So let me tell you. One of the hardest things in my life, I'll be 50 this year. One of the hardest things in my life is realizing I can't bring everyone with me.
Cyrus, hold on a second. Wait a minute. I hate to interrupt you, Cyrus. Hold on. I want you to repeat that for the people that are listening, because you just made a brilliant point. Say that again. You can't do what?
Yeah, you can't bring everybody with you. And that hurts me. It hurts me to have realized that in my career, that you can want something for someone so bad, but they don't want it enough for themselves. That has been hurtful for me. And because that's, again, my nature is to not just amass for myself, is to try to create opportunities for others, to make connections. But when you show me you don't appreciate, those connections, you show me you don't appreciate the opportunities or a key to a door, that's hurtful. But this is what I've had to resolve, though. I had to resolve that I can want something for someone, but I have to divorce myself from the outcome of it. So I can give you an opportunity, but regardless of whether you take it or not, is not up to me. It's up to you at that point. So that has been honestly the most difficult thing for me, because I have wanted things for people around me and realized that they didn't want them or appreciate them. That's another part. Appreciate it. So many people want you just to give them something, right? And to do it for them. And I've tried that, but it doesn't work.
No, it does not work.
Yeah. And so I've had to say, you know what? I want this for you, but whether you do it or not, I have to keep going.
Very important. Now, Cyrus, we're going to forecast. It is 10 years from now. It's 2035.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself? Where do you see your broadcast? Where do you see the Cyrus Webb brand going?
Now, I love this question because it's actually going to start this July. I am expanding my media company this year. And what I will be doing, what you'll be seeing me doing more of, and I know by 2035, you would definitely see it, is that I'm literally building my own network as we're speaking, Eugene. I'm actually training other hosts, both on camera as audio podcasters, training other people in media. I started a media entity called MOCM, Men of Color in Media. I'll be reaching out to you to be a part of that with us, where we showcasing the stories of others who are men of color, who are doing things in their media industry and sharing tips, like I have the opportunity to do here with you today for your audience. So that's going to be it. I really believe my legacy is going to be as a teacher, which is ironic because I've always enjoyed, like I did summer programs and things growing up where I taught, people would hire me to teach their kids. And I've always enjoyed it and pouring into others. And now I realize media is the vehicle I get to use to do that as an adult. And I really believe that's going to be my legacy.
Once again, folks, I don't, as a former educator myself, I never necessarily mean to go out and find other educators to be a guest on my show. But every guest I have somehow throws an element of education in their answers or in our discussion. So that should tell us something, folks. That tells me there's always something to learn from the next guy. There's always something to learn from other people's experiences. And I think Cyrus is a perfect example of that. All right, Cyrus, so let me ask you this. We started from the beginning, where you started, how you're growing, the people you've met, the things you're doing, and where you want to go. Okay? So now, where do you see, talking about Black men in media, which is a great jump-off point, what was it particularly that inspires you to, even though you said you can't bring everyone with you, what was it that inspired you to try to bring other Black male media images or participants with you?
Yeah, you know what it was? LeVar Burton of Reading Rainbow. When I saw LeVar Burton on television, something within me said, not that you could do that, but that you will do that. And I knew then that he was showing me what was possible. I had an opportunity to interview him and tell him how much I thanked him for what he's done with his platform even today. So I said that to say this, Eugene. I want other people to look at me and realize I'm not the end. I'm just a part of the chain, that they can be the next link in that chain. And then people can look at them. And I want people to know too, just like you have your lane, that there's enough for everyone. I think there's this horrible thing out there that if I'm doing this, you can't do it because I'm doing it. And there's
Right.
people, unfortunately, Eugene, who feel like, well, no, this is mine. You have to find you something else to do.
Listen, we both know that because
Yeah.
in the industries that we pursued over the course of time, whether it be education, whether it be media, whatever, and unfortunately, especially among our folks,
Yes.
you know,
I was told here in Mississippi by people who look like me, I wouldn't make it.
right.
I mean, that you don't have this, you don't have that. Who's going to want to listen to, you talk about, they literally said, who's going to want to listen to you talk about books? Now, I want you to think about that.
And now they're kicking themselves.
Right.
And now they're kicking themselves.
Right. And so it is what I have learned is that Field of Dreams, that's why Field of Dreams is one of my favorite movies. If you build it, they will come.
Right.
But I also realized that I couldn't be LeVar Burton. I had to do it my way. And that's what I hope other people realize, especially men of color, that you have to do it your way. Like, I'm not the sports guy. My brother's a sports guy. I know my lane. I stay within my lane. And I've been able to hone that skill. And I want other people to know, hey, you can be inspired by Eugene and myself, but you need to have your lane. You need to, because, Eugene is Eugene. We don't need another Eugene. I'm Cyrus, and I promise you we don't need another Cyrus. But you need to be you, and that's okay. Just create your thing, and your audience will come. And that's exactly what's happened for both of us, Eugene.
Well, listen, Cyrus, let me tell you something, man. Whenever I have a chance to reconnect with, and even though we've never met in person, I feel like we're old friends through social media, through the media, and all those things. And it's one of those relationships where I watch you from afar and I follow you. And I know that we feel a special bond because of that congratulations I send you every couple of times where I see you doing something bigger and newer. And I want to tell you, you are an inspiration to folks. You're an inspiration to me. You're an inspiration to folks you haven't even met yet. And I need you, whenever times get difficult, and I know sometimes they do, and they have, and they will, I want you to remember all the things you said today, because you are that type of person that somebody else is watching out there from their basement or from their home office or whatever and saying, that's the guy that inspired me to get to point A, point B, point C. And I appreciate you for all the things that you are doing, all the things that you will do, and all the things that you have done. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Talk to Me with Eugene Williams Jr. And my guest has been the fantastic, the wonderful, the inspirational Cyrus Webb. Be blessed, and we'll talk to you next time.